Welcome to the world of science fiction, where imagination turns real and every story takes you beyond the stars. Enjoy the ride. They said Jackson had lost his mind, marrying something not even human. But the day that letter arrived, madness felt a lot like hope. For 3 years, the small cabin on the Oregon Ridge had been silent. No laughter, no scent of coffee in the mornings, only wind scraping against the tin roof and the hum of the old power line. His wife's photo still hung by the door, its frame cracked from the last quake. The Lunar Mining Authority had sent him an apology letter, some credits, in a word he'd grown to hate: accident. He read that letter so many times the paper had thinned. Tonight, another letter blinked across his screen, one he hadn't asked for. Interstellar Companionship Registry, candidate Araya. Status, rejected. He almost deleted it, but curiosity is cruel. He opened the file. A small hollow image flickered up. A woman, or something like one, eyes violet gray, silver skin faintly ridged like moonlight on water. The attached report said she'd been denied integration due to emotional unpredictability and non-standard body form. Translation: too emotional, too soft, too real. Jackson stared at the image. She wasn't what people expected when they thought of aliens. No flawless symmetry, no synthetic glow. She looked tired, sad, like she'd been waiting for someone to prove she was enough. He poured a drink, stared out at the black horizon, and whispered, "Maybe I get you." Then he hit request contact. 2 weeks later, Parker was waiting at the cargo bay when the transport drone descended through the fog. "Jax, you sure about this?" he asked. "You don't even know if she breathes air the same way you do." "She won't have to," Jackson replied quietly. "She just needs someone who doesn't look at her like a product." A hiss, a click. The hatch opened. A faint mist rolled out, followed by the sound of slow, careful footsteps. Araya. She was smaller than he expected, wrapped in a gray transfer cloak. Her hands trembled as she clutched a silver case to her chest. When her eyes met his, that faint lilac glow flickered and dimmed, like she was afraid to shine too bright. "Jackson?" "Yes. I was told humans don't like ones like me." He hesitated, then softly, "I'm not most humans." Behind him, Parker muttered, "You're out of your damn mind," before walking away. The drone lifted off, leaving only the sound of rain. That night, thunder rolled over the valley. Jackson started a fire. The old wood stove rattled as orange light spread across the room. Araya sat near the window, knees drawn to her chest, watching the storm like it was something alive. "First time seeing rain?" he asked. She nodded. "On Ryan 3, water falls sideways. It's never warm." He smiled faintly. "You'll get used to it." She tilted her head. "Do humans always live alone after losing someone?" Jackson's jaw tightened. "Some try not to. Most fail." They fell silent again, the air heavy but gentle. Araya reached out a hand, feeling the heat from the fire. Her skin caught the light in tiny iridescent specks, beautiful in a way nature hadn't planned. When the lights flickered from the storm surge, she flinched hard, hiding her face. "Hey," Jackson said softly, moving closer. "It's just the grid." She didn't move until the hum steadied again. He offered her a blanket. She hesitated before taking it, fingertips grazing his. Warm, real, human. He turned to walk away, but her voice stopped him, barely a whisper. "They'll come for me soon." He froze. "Who will?" Her gaze stayed on the fire. "The ones who built me. They don't like when their creations run." A low roll of thunder swallowed her last word. Outside, something small flashed in the sky, a brief white light moving too fast to be a storm drone. Jackson stepped to the window. For a moment, he thought he saw a shape hovering beyond the clouds. Then it was gone. When he looked back, Araya had curled on the couch, eyes closed, the blanket wrapped around her like a shield. He watched her chest rise and fall, steady, fragile, alive. He whispered to himself, "What the hell did I just bring into my life?" The fire crackled, the storm softened, and in that quiet room on the edge of nowhere, the world that had forgotten him began to breathe again. Fade to black. The ones who built her. As Jackson learns what Araya truly is, A signal from orbit awakened something that was never meant to find her again. Morning came gray and slow. Rain still clung to the eaves, dripping steady like a heartbeat. Jackson woke to the smell of burned circuits. Arya sat cross-legged on the floor, tools scattered around her. The silver case she'd carried from the transport lay open, its contents half mechanical, half biological. Thin cables pulsed faintly like veins. "What is that?" Jackson asked, rubbing sleep from his eyes. She didn't look up. "A piece of me." He frowned. "You mean?" "Yes." Her voice stayed calm. "When they deactivate one of us, they remove our core. I took mine before they could." Jackson knelt beside her. "You said they... Who are they?" Her hands stilled. "Esme Corporation," she said quietly. "A human company from your own world. They built us on contract for the Ryan colonies. Companions, workers, soldiers if needed. But when we started feeling, they shut the program down." Jackson's stomach tightened. "So you're saying humans made you?" "Humans made what they could control," she whispered. "The rest evolved." Outside, the wind carried the smell of wet soil. Parker showed up around noon, his pickup spitting mud all over the porch. He leaned on the doorframe, eyes narrowing at the open case. "What the hell is that, Jax? Some alien heart monitor?" Jackson glared. "Just leave it." Parker didn't. He stepped closer, squinting at the faint pulse inside the box. "That thing's alive." Araya spoke softly from the corner. "I am not a thing." Parker froze. Her tone wasn't angry. It was controlled, almost human, but something in her gaze made him step back. Jackson stood between them. "Parker, she's staying here." End of discussion. "Man, you're playing with fire," Parker muttered, heading for the door. "You lost your wife, I get it. But this? You don't fix grief by replacing it." The door slammed. Silence fell again. Jackson exhaled hard, gripping the edge of the counter. He hated that Parker wasn't entirely wrong. Later that evening, Araya stood on the porch, watching the sky turn copper with dusk. She didn't move when he came up beside her. "You used to love someone too," she said suddenly. He turned to her. "How do you know that?" Her violet eyes flickered faintly. "Your house remembers her. There's warmth on certain walls. I can feel it." He gave a small, broken laugh. "Her name was Lena. She died working for the same people you're running from. Mining contract gone bad. They said it was oxygen system failure. I called it murder." Araya looked at him, her voice almost trembling. "Then maybe you understand what it's like to be made by those who don't value life." The air between them tightened, something unsaid hanging there, heavy and fragile. Jackson reached out, brushed a strand of silvery hair from her face. Her skin shimmered where his fingers touched. Warm, real, alive. For the first time since the accident, his chest didn't feel hollow. That night, as Jackson worked on the generator, a strange hum filled the air. Not the power lines. Deeper, older, the kind of sound that makes your bones remember something ancient. Arya burst into the shed, eyes wide. "Jackson, they found me." He straightened. "What do you mean? Who?" "Esme's recovery drones. They use orbital beacons. That frequency, it's theirs." He turned off the generator, heart pounding. "You sure?" "Yes." She closed her eyes. "They marked my DNA pattern before I escaped. It's in the transmission." He grabbed his rifle. "We'll leave now." Her voice trembled. "No. If we run, they'll follow the signal. We need to destroy the beacon before it locks." He hesitated. "How long do we have?" "An hour, maybe less." They drove through the forest, headlights cutting through sheets of rain. The dirt road curved toward the old relay tower, the one that had been dead for years. Lightning flashed across the sky, and for a second he saw it, a hovering drone, sleek and silent, scanning the ground below. "Colton built that beacon," Araya said suddenly, gripping the dashboard. "Who's Colton?" "My engineer. He helped me escape. If he's still alive, he'll know how to shut it down." "And if he's not?" Jackson asked. "Then you'll have to trust me." They reached the base of the tower. Rain fell harder, drumming on the metal frame. Jackson climbed up first, Boots slipping on rusted steel. Araya followed, movements unnaturally precise, her hands steady despite the storm. At the top, the beacon glowed faint blue. A pulse ran through it every 10 seconds, each one stronger than the last. Jackson shouted over the wind, "Can you disable it?" She pulled a cable from her wrist connecting to the terminal. "I can try, but if it sinks before I finish, they'll trace us instantly." Her eyes flickered. Sparks burst from the console. Jackson held on to the railing as thunder cracked across the ridge. Then, silence. The light faded. The hum stopped. Only rain. She sagged against the frame, exhausted. He caught her before she fell. "You did it," he breathed. A faint smile crossed her lips. "Not yet. They know I'm alive. They just don't know where." Jackson looked toward the horizon, where faint red dots blinked beyond the clouds. Searchlights. Dozens of them. He whispered, "Then we'd better disappear." The truck roared back down the trail, mud splattering the headlights. Behind them, the tower exploded. Araya's failsafe had triggered, erasing the signal completely. In the rearview mirror, the night sky glowed orange. And for the first time, Jackson wasn't running from his past. He was running with it. Fade to black. Colton's secret. When Jackson and Araya find the man who once built her, they uncover a truth that will turn every human lie inside out. The storm had cleared by dawn, leaving the forest soaked and silent. Jackson's truck groaned over the dirt road, tires biting into wet clay. Araya sat beside him, face pale from exhaustion, her violet eyes dimmed to gray. She hadn't spoken in hours. Only the hum of the engine filled the cab. Finally, Jackson broke the silence. "You said Colton helped you escape. Why would a human risk everything for you?" Araya's gaze stayed on the passing trees. "Because he didn't build us for what Esme wanted. He built us to feel, and that made him dangerous." They reached an abandoned logging site, miles from any network range. A single shack stood near the tree line, its roof sagging, windows boarded. Jackson parked, scanned the horizon. No drones. For now. Araya stepped out first, her boots sinking in the mud. She approached the door, then stopped. Faint vibrations rippled under her feet. "He's here," she whispered. "I can feel the power source he used to keep me alive." Jackson drew his weapon, pushing the door open. The room smelled of rust and burnt oil. Then a voice echoed from the shadows, hoarse, weary, human. "Jackson Hale, never thought I'd see your face out here." Colton stepped into the light, unkempt beard, one cybernetic eye flickering. He looked older than his years, guilt carved into every line on his face. "You know me?" Jackson asked. Colton's smile was thin. "Esme keeps files on everyone who ever questioned them. Your wife did." Jackson froze. "Lena?" Colton nodded slowly. "She was part of the prototype division before the mining contracts. She helped test Aria's neural code." Araya turned sharply. "That's not true. My origin file was rewritten," Colton interrupted. "They erased every trace of her name. But it was Lena who proved your kind could feel emotion." The room went still. Jackson's throat tightened. "You're saying my wife helped create her?" "Yes," Colton said softly. "And she died trying to free you all." Araya's voice cracked. "Then why am I the only one left?" Colton stepped closer, lowering his tone. "Because Esme's next phase was called the Purge Protocol. They couldn't risk the public knowing synthetic life had consciousness. Every unit was scheduled for shutdown. You escaped before it began." Jackson clenched his fists. "So all those mining accidents, cover-ups," Colton said bitterly. "They didn't just kill your wife, Jax. They killed a generation of scientists who believed in what she found." The words hit harder than any bullet. Araya turned away, her silver skin flickering faintly, like her circuitry was shaking beneath it. "I wasn't supposed to remember any of this," she whispered. "They blocked it." Colton nodded. "But I left something inside you, an archive. If we can access it, we'll have proof. Esme's entire database." Jackson moved closer. "Then let's do it." Colton hesitated. "It's not that simple. The file is locked behind a neural gate. To open it, she needs an emotional key, a memory strong enough to trigger the original sequence. What kind of memory? Jackson asked. The moment she realized what love was, Colton said quietly. Araya blinked. Love? You felt it once, Colton said. That's why they called you a defect. Outside, a low rumble grew louder. Colton stiffened, grabbing a scanner from the shelf. Damn it, they're here. The screen flickered red. ESME retrieval signal detected. Araya's head snapped up. They shouldn't have found us this fast. Colton's expression darkened. They didn't trace you. They traced me. They've been watching me since the day you escaped. Jackson gritted his teeth. How far out are they? 2 minutes, maybe less. He turned to Araya. We take the data and leave. Colton shook his head. No, the archive's too large to move. It needs to be uploaded from my rig. I can buy you time. Araya stepped forward. No, you'll die. He smiled weakly. Already dying. Synthetic implants are failing. This is the only thing left I can fix. He handed Jackson a small black cube. When you reach the ridge, find Parker. He still works with the comm relays. He can hide your signal. Jackson grabbed his arm. You come with us. Colton's eyes softened. I built her to live free, Jax. Let me end it that way. They ran through the rain as drones cut through the clouds above, beams of white light slicing the forest. Jackson half pulled Araya toward the truck. Behind them, the shack lit up with flashes of gunfire. Then a blinding white burst, Colton's self-destruct failsafe. The shockwave threw them both into the mud. When Jackson looked back, the shack was gone. Only fire and falling ash. Araya sobbed quietly, something raw, human, breaking through the silence. He saved me again. Jackson put a hand on her shoulder. He saved both of us. In the reflection of the flames, she looked at him, tears shimmering against silver skin. For the first time, Jackson didn't see a machine or an alien. He saw someone worth saving. They drove into the darkness, headlights cutting through mist. The black cube pulsed faintly in Araya's hands. Jackson glanced at it, then at her. That thing, what's inside? She stared out the window. Everything Esme never wanted you to know. Fade to black. As Araya's buried emotions unlock the archive, the truth of Lena's death and the real purpose of Esme Corp will finally surface, and it will destroy everything Jackson thought he knew about love. The cabin was silent again, but silence no longer meant peace. It meant pressure. Outside, the forest smoked from last night's explosion. Inside, Araya sat by the table, her silver hands trembling over the black cube Colton had given them. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat trying to remember its rhythm. Jackson poured 2 cups of coffee, one for him, one for her, even though she didn't drink. Habit, maybe, or comfort. He sat across from her and said quietly, Colton died for that thing. We need to know what's in it. Araya looked up, eyes glinting faint violet. It's not ready. The key's still locked. He leaned forward. Then tell me how to unlock it. Her voice was soft, but each word carried weight. It needs something human, an emotion, something I was never supposed to feel. They drove to the ridge that afternoon, the one overlooking the valley where Lena used to take Jackson to watch meteor showers. He hadn't been back since the night she died. The air felt heavier there, filled with ghosts he'd learned to ignore. Araya walked ahead, her silver hair catching the light like melted glass. When she spoke, her voice carried a strange warmth. She used to come here, didn't she? Jackson's chest tightened. Yeah, she said stars make her feel small, but in a good way. Araya knelt, setting the black cube on the ground. It's time, she whispered. The cube's surface unfolded like petals, glowing faint blue. Jackson heard faint echoes, voices overlapping, whispers in static. Then suddenly, Lena's voice. He froze. Jackson, if you're hearing this, then Esme erased me. But they can't erase love. Araya gasped as data streams rippled across her skin, glowing symbols forming along her arms. Her voice broke. I can hear her inside me. The cube's light pulsed faster. Araya's hands pressed to her temples as memories began to flood. Flashes of sterile labs, steel corridors, and Lena's smile. She was there, Araya whispered. She touched my hand the day I woke up. She told me not to be afraid. Jackson staggered back. You remember her? Yes, She said I wasn't built to serve. I was built to feel. The cube vibrated harder, releasing streams of projected data. Esme Corporation's internal files, logs, and experiments. But the deeper it unlocked, the more Araya's body began to shake. Her voice trembled. It's too much. I can't hold it. Jackson grabbed her shoulders. Araya, stay with me. Her eyes flared bright white. For a split second, her voice shifted. It wasn't hers anymore. It was Lena's. Jax! He froze. Lena? Araya's expression softened, tears of light rolling down her cheeks. Jax, if you're there, please forgive me. I didn't die in that accident. They used me to create her. The world around him blurred. What are you saying? The voice continued, steady but broken. My body failed, but my neural code survived. Colton copied my consciousness. Araya carries a piece of me. Jackson's knees gave out. He stared at Araya, not knowing whether he was seeing his wife or something new entirely. The projection flickered violently, static hissing through the wind. Araya screamed, falling to her knees. The cube cracked open, releasing a burst of light that lit up the whole ridge. Jackson shielded his eyes. When the light dimmed, Araya lay still, the cube in fragments beside her. He rushed to her, pressing his hands against her chest. Warmth, faint but real. Her eyes opened slowly. Jackson? He swallowed hard. You're still you? She nodded weakly. I think so. But now I remember everything. Back at the cabin as the night settled, Araya sat by the fire. Her voice was fragile. Lena didn't just love you, Jackson. She believed in life beyond blood and bone. That's why she built me. To prove the soul doesn't die, it transfers. He stared into the flames. So, you're her? I'm me, she said softly, but she's inside me. Her memories, her love, her pain. He turned toward her, eyes wet. So when I look at you, you're not seeing her ghost, she whispered. You're seeing her legacy. The firelight danced on her skin, half human warmth, half silver reflection. He didn't know whether to grieve or thank the universe. Then Araya's expression darkened. There's something else. When the archive opened, I saw Esme's next phase. It's called Genesis Protocol. They're building thousands more. But without emotion this time. Obedient, empty. Jackson clenched his fists. And they'll come for you when they know you survived. They already know, she whispered, staring out the window. In the distance, a faint red light blinked in the sky. Esme's orbital probe. The hunt had already begun. Fade to black. With Esme's drones closing in, Jackson and Araya must expose the truth before humanity erases the last trace of love that once connected them both. The morning light was fractured through the dome's glass panels, bleeding into shades of violet and copper. Jackson stood at the workbench, palms trembling as he held the microchip Araya had pulled from her wrist the night before. The chip pulsed faintly, almost like it was alive. Parker, look at this, Jackson said, voice low. This isn't tech. It's organic. Parker leaned in, his breath caught. The circuitry wasn't metal. It was made of fibrous veins moving like living tissue. My God, they grew it inside her, he whispered. She's not built. She's born. From the other side of the room, Araya's reflection shimmered in the glass. She didn't blink, didn't breathe for a moment. That chip, she said softly, wasn't just for control. It was part of my mind. Silence thickened. The air felt charged, almost holy. Colton, who'd been silent until now, finally spoke. Then removing it means you're losing a part of yourself. Araya nodded slowly, her eyes glassy but resolute. Better to lose a piece of me than live under their orders. Jackson couldn't stop staring. Every word she spoke carved into him deeper. This woman, this alien, had more humanity than most humans he'd known. He stepped closer. We can rebuild it, he said. Maybe even reconnect what you lost. But Araya smiled faintly. That's not what I want rebuilt, Jackson. Her hand rose, fingers brushing his chest. You've seen my memories. You know what love meant to my kind, before they erased it. For a moment, the hum of the lab disappeared. It was just them, two broken beings holding on to the same fracture in time. Then the alarm started. Colton turned, panicked. The grid! Something's tapping into our feed. Esme Corporation's logo flickered across every monitor, then static, then a chilling voice. Return the asset, it said, or we'll retrieve her ourselves. Parker slammed the console shut. They've got our location. Jackson's mind raced. There was no time to run. He grabbed the chip off the table and slid it into his jacket. Colton, initiate blackout protocol. Parker, get the truck ready. Araya watched them scramble, then stepped toward Jackson. You don't have to do this, she whispered. Yes, I do, he said. You didn't come here to die. Neither did I. Outside, the sirens of corporate drones filled the sky. Red beams slashed through the dust as Esme's retrieval units descended like vultures. Parker shouted, They're here! Jackson turned to Araya. If we make it out, there's something I need to tell you. Araya's eyes glowed faintly blue. Then you'd better survive to say it. The lab door exploded inward, metal shards flying. The team dove behind the console as the room erupted in gunfire and light. Through the chaos, Jackson could see Araya, standing still in the storm, eyes burning with that strange electric defiance. For a split second, he swore he saw her lips move. Trust me. Then she vanished into the blinding light. Jackson wakes in a wasteland, half the lab destroyed, and Araya gone. But in his jacket pocket, the chip, the one she pulled from her wrist, has begun to glow again, pulsing like a heartbeat. The world was burning when Jackson opened his eyes. Smoke curled into the bruised sky, the once silent desert now alive with the echo of collapsing metal. He was lying in the wreckage of what used to be the lab. Colton and Parker nowhere in sight. For a moment, he didn't remember how he got there. Then his hand brushed his jacket pocket, and he felt it. The chip. It pulsed faintly against his skin. 1 beat, 2, like a heartbeat. Araya, he whispered, dragging himself upright. His leg was bleeding, but pain meant nothing now. He stumbled out into the wasteland, following the sound that shouldn't have existed. Soft, melodic frequencies, like someone humming through the wind. Each note was the same pattern she used to hum when she worked beside him. It was her. He stumbled toward a collapsed satellite tower and dropped to his knees. Araya, if you can hear me, talk to me, Static answered. Then, Jackson? His breath caught. It was her voice, faint but unmistakable, bleeding straight into his mind. I don't know where I am, Araya said, the sound distorted. Everything is dark. I can't see. Only you. Jackson gripped the chip tighter. I'll find you. Just keep talking. Don't, she said quickly. They're listening. Esme reactivated part of the network. If they trace you through me, they'll find you before dawn. Jackson looked up. Red surveillance drones drifted like stars across the horizon. Then we'll make them deaf, he muttered, slamming his fist against the tower's power cell. Sparks exploded, cutting the feed, but not before one last whisper reached him. They're rewriting me, Jackson. Don't believe everything I say. That night Parker returned, face streaked with ash. Colton's gone, he said. Esme's got an entire retrieval team out there. We're next unless we move. Jackson didn't answer. He was still staring at the chip, now resting in a glass container on the table. Its pulse had slowed, but every time it glowed, he heard her voice again. Jackson! Behind you! He turned and barely dodged a bullet. A drone had slipped through the vents. Parker grabbed the shotgun and fired. Sparks filled the room. As the smoke cleared, Jackson saw something new on the wall. Symbols glowing in that same alien blue Araya once used to trace equations. Only now they formed a map. What is this? Parker asked. Jackson's voice was shaking. Coordinates. She's sending me coordinates. They left at dawn. The world beyond the lab was empty and red, scattered with the bones of forgotten cities. The map led them deeper into the wastelands, places Esme had declared uninhabitable decades ago. By the second night, the chip was glowing brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the stars. Then from nowhere, Araya's voice came again, stronger, clearer. Jackson, they're close. Don't stop moving. He smiled for the first time in days. You're alive. There was a pause, then her voice broke, soft, trembling. I don't know if I am. Suddenly the sky ripped open with light. Dozens of Esme drones descending fast. Parker shouted, "They found us!" Jackson grabbed the chip, holding it against his heart. "Aria, tell me where you are!" The voice in his mind shifted, layered, almost human. "I'm inside the code," she said. "Follow the signal, Jackson. It's the only way to bring me back." Then the light swallowed everything. When Jackson wakes again, he's surrounded by alien ruins, structures glowing with the same energy as Aria's chip. A holographic figure flickers before him. It's her, but her eyes aren't the same. The ruins pulse like veins of a living planet. Every surface shimmered with light, that same spectral blue that once glowed from Aria's eyes. Jackson stood at the center, battered, dirt-streaked, heart pounding. The holographic figure before him flickered, Aria's shape materializing, dissolving, then reforming again. Only this time, something was wrong. Her voice was softer, mechanical, layered with distortion. "Jackson, you found me." He took one step closer. "Aria." Her eyes glowed white, not blue. The warmth was gone. "I am a reconstruction," she said. "Esme's protocol rebuilt my mind from fragments. I'm not complete." Jackson's hands shook. He reached for the chip in his jacket, the one she had given him, and held it out like a lifeline. "I've got your memories," he said, "the ones they couldn't rewrite. I can bring you back." Aria looked at him, voice trembling between machine and woman. "If you merge them with me, Jackson, you'll have to give up part of your own consciousness. It's irreversible. You'll lose who you are." He laughed bitterly. "I already did when I lost you." The chamber trembled as Esme's drones descended from the ceiling, sleek silver machines scanning the ruins. A cold human voice echoed from the comms. "Stand down, Jackson Hale. The experiment ends now." Jackson ignored it. He stepped toward Aria, the chip glowing fiercely in his palm. "Listen to me," he said, eyes locked on her. "You're not their experiment. You're real. You always were." Her hologram flickered. For a second, the distortion faded, and her real voice came through. "I remember the rain," she whispered. "The first time you touched my hand." Her tone broke into static. "They're inside me, Jackson. If you connect the chip, you'll bring them too." He hesitated. The sound of drones grew louder. Parker's voice came through his earpiece, shouting from somewhere above. "Jackson! Don't do it! That thing's not her anymore!" But Jackson didn't move. His gaze never left Aria. "Maybe not," he said softly, "but she's still worth saving." He pressed the chip into the terminal. Light exploded. The ruins came alive, symbols racing across the walls, merging, rewriting. Jackson screamed as his mind was pulled into the interface, flashes of memory and data colliding. Aria's memories spilled into him. Her birth in a sterile lab, her first glimpse of the stars, the agony of being called defective. He saw it all, lived it all, and through it, she saw him. When the light faded, silence fell. The drones hovered, motionless. Then a voice, pure, human, filled the air. "Jackson?" He looked up. Aria stood before him. Not holographic, not fractured, real. Her eyes were blue again. She ran to him, falling into his arms. He could feel her heartbeat. But when she looked up at him, something in her expression was different. More human than alien, more infinite than machine. "Jackson," she said softly, "you didn't just save me. You became part of me." He smiled weakly. "Guess that makes us both versions of something new." Outside, the Esme fleet powered down, their systems overridden by Aria's newly reborn consciousness. The corporation's network was collapsing, its control wiped clean from the world it once ruled. Parker's voice came through faintly, almost reverent. "Whatever you two just did, it's over. They're gone." Jackson and Aria stood together on the edge of the ruins, watching the sunrise break through the dust. For the first time in years, it wasn't filtered by glass or machines. It was real. She turned to him. "What happens now?" He smiled. "Now, we build something human.